I woke up when Calamity returned with the Enclave armor, and, if I were to guess, most of the medical bay. "Went smoothly," he said, slipping off the zebra stealth cloak and passing it to me. I reached out for it and realized I could see my arm. The MG Stealth Buck 2 had drained while I slept. Fortunately, no pony, or at least no pony observant, had used the stairwell since then. Wait. How long was I out? Long enough for him to take a few trips. Reggie teased from someplace nearby. Figured we ought to let you sleep. Reggie shifted her attention to Calamity. Don't you think your brother's gonna notice his whole damn ship missing? I would have sworn one of the goddesses had a love for ironic timing. Before Calamity could answer, we heard a door open several floors above us. Music flooded into the stairwell, hidden speakers coming alive at their entrance, pouring haunting orchestra music with an exquisite cello performance at its centerpiece. Ah, hell, Calamity moaned swiftly. It's autumn. At my querying look, he explained. Who else could have had the whole ship rigged to pipe classical music wherever he goes? I noticed that he positioned himself wings spread so that he could feel if Reggie tried to pass him. I wasn't sure if he intended to stop the griffin or just wanted some forewarning. Voices echoed down the stairwell. Again, sir, my deepest apologies, the mayor said, almost whining. I still can't understand how the monster got past us. Teleportation, no doubt, Autumn Leaf replied, his tone hard. 2 of those beasts that tried to breach Nervo a few years back were teleporters. He added, that little spell proved no help to either of them. Sir, you know this is a trap, a mayor's voice was saying. Of course it's a trap, the stallion's voice replied, smooth as glass. Unlike Calamity's other brothers, there was no trace of his family's accent. Red-Eye is calling me out. There is simply no other explanation for that. Autumn Leaf's voice twisted into a snarl. Mental violation. My head was spinning. Unless I was gravely misinterpreting what I was hearing, I hadn't been the only one that Red-Eye's alicorns had tested with that vile mental rape. Autumn Leaf sternly announced, I do not intend to disappoint him. I now understood what pushed Autumn Leaf to jump the whistle. Sir, the mayor pleaded, their voices drawing closer. With all due respect, I believe it would be a grave error for you to enter the battle yourself like this. I do not doubt it, responded the Pegasus, who had brought so much harm and devastation and death to the Equestrian wasteland. But there are some transgressions that absolutely require of personal reckoning. I heard another door open above us. If I die, Colonel Autumn Leaf instructed, or I am taken hostage, you have your orders. His voice receded as the 2 ponies walked away. I barely caught him adding, besides, Red-Eye is not going to see this coming. The door slid shut. When it closed, the virtual classic orchestra evaporated, plunging the stairwell into an oppressive silence. Rainbow? I asked cautiously. There was no dash. I listened to my earbloom as I drank another of the healing potions Calamity had pilfered, blinking away blood-tinged tears. My headache and hornache receded, then disappeared completely. At least we were going into this magically restored to complete health. Even the swelling in my leg had almost completely gone. Canterlock static from the Raptor lenticular was still flooding the Enclave inner warship channel. The fact that the lenticular had managed to neither shut down its comm array nor get far enough away for the Overcast to be outside its range suggested that the Enclave aboard had not been successful in dealing with the demon. I was willing to bet at least one of the other Raptors were trying to hunt the lenticular down, but without communications, there was no easy way for them to coordinate efforts. I pictured Enclave soldiers flying between the ships, relaying messages. I had switched away from the channel as soon as I had heard it, but the concentrated blast of Canterlot static had still taken its toll. Now I was switching through other transmissions. The Enclave's Hellhound control broadcast, the intra-ship classical music station, all cello, all the time. Red Eye's broadcast, straight from the cathedral, sans towers, and thus free from Enclave takeover. And finally, the normal Wasteland broadcast, all Enclave, almost all the time. Still no sign or sound of Reggie. It had been 15 minutes. "I got a few ice-cold sparkle colas in the rucksack over there," Calamity pointed. "That's almost as good as another couple hours of sleep, I reckon." He turned to the Enclave's crates under the stairs, opening the first one. "Ooh," he whistled, "grenades." I began to dig through the sack in question, as the dour tones of fancy horns and kettle drums played in my ear. "You really need a pit buck," I whispered to Calamity with a chuckle. In his kleptomaniac enthusiasm, he had dumped the contents of who know how many medical boxes and Enclave crates into his saddlebags, and even more into military rucksacks. If for the inventory sorter alone. The song on the radio changed. This one was heavy on the string section. "Ah, shoot," Calamity said, face-huffing his armor-clad hoof against his helmet with a thunk. "The armor's got one of these." Clearly, it had been a while since he'd properly used Enclave armor. The few times I'd seen him use his own suit, with the exception of a brief stint in Old Olney, he'd always had the helmet off. I smirked, about to say something witty, when I found the ice-cold sparkle cola, and, beside it, a couple tins of Menthol. I stared, feeling a moment of cold shock. "Calamity," I asked, trying to sound casual, "do you even look at the stuff you're taking?" "Nope," he said. I could almost feel the grin through his helmet. He had no idea what I'd just seen. "Reckon if Autumn wants it, best I have it." Right. I looked back into the rucksack, my mind insisting on replaying the taste of party-time menthols, the feelings of competence and intelligence, the certainty. I took the ice-cold sparkle cola in my teeth and telekinetically zipped the rucksack shut, the little pony in my head echoing Calamity. "Nope." I got to mentally celebrate my little victory for about a minute before I heard a door open above us. A pair of lightly armored Enclave officers strode by, trotting up the stairs. Calamity whisked his scorpion-like armor tail around to salute. One of the officers saluted back. I watched them disappear up the metal stairs, following the line that led towards the officers' quarters, without even noticing it. Once they were well away, I shifted my attention back to Calamity. "Got a question for you," I said, as I opened the frothy sparkle cola, enjoying the little hiss that it made, and the aroma of carrots and colaness. "All right," he said, alleviating another crate of its cargo, which, in this case, included some ponies' Wingboner magazine collection, 3 hot plates, 17 pre-war bits, and a copy of the pre-war book, Give Peas a Chance, The Vegetarian's Guide to Cooking. Shoot. I remember Reggie's snide remark about carrying healing potions. I started to telekinetically fill my saddlebags with a healthy supply from the rucksack. "What kinds of defenses does the Enclave have around the SPP Central Hub?" I questioned before tipping back the cola and taking a swig. Yay, carrots. I knew that the hub itself had defenses, the most significant being the shields surrounding the entire structure, but those were not under the Enclave's control. The single Pegasus project was the core of the Enclave's grip on the heavens. Even if no pony could get inside the central hub, I had assumed the Enclave had guards, or at least some kind of warning system. You mean Nervo? Or Navo? Navarro? Calamity asked. I almost choked as the taste of fizzy carrots. The healing potion I'd been levitating hit the floor. Navarro? I asked back slowly, setting the cola safely on one of the Enclave crates. Son of a... Calamity nickered, giving a stomp. That's your plan? He asked, spreading his wings. You want to take on the Enclave's biggest military base? Oh, fuck. The base, with a thunderhead permanently parked overhead. Fuckity fuck. The base, where my father serves as drill sergeant. Luna shoved my cunt full of moon rocks and called me home. The Enclave had built a whole damn base around it. Stealth mission? He asked, his voice betraying the ludicrousness of my idea. Or were you just planning on a full frontal assault? I opened my muzzle to reply, but all that came out was a squeak. Yep, this is gonna be barrels of fun. He would have said more, but the sound of another door opening prompted him to clam up. We both waited, listening, striving to hear whether or not the pony or ponies who just entered the stairwell were heading our way. Our ears were greeted only with silence. Moments later, we heard Reggie's muffled hiss. Dash. Calamity's wings drooped. My brother? He asked, hesitating to speak further. Still alive, I'm afraid, Reggie admitted. Sorry, I got distracted. Distracted? I found they've got prisoners in here, Reggie explained. Any pony up for breaking them free? Calamity chuckled. Welcome to the team. One Pegasus in Enclave armor, on a ship full of Enclave Pegasi, flanked by two invisible and virtually inaudible companions. If we couldn't pull this off, we didn't deserve to win. The Enclave music in my earbloom had changed again. This one sounded like a dirge. Howdy, partner, Calamity called out, as he trotted up to the mare at the guard station just outside the ship's brig. I so wanted a face hoof. Bored yet? Hover and identify. The guard Pegasus ordered rotely. Wind shear, Calamity lied swiftly. Superior Communications Officer. Transferred from the Glorious Dawn last week. That was a dangerous gamble. If the mayor knew about the colonel's family, using his brother's name and rank would give his story a sense of legitimacy. After all, it was understandable that Colonel Autumn Leaf might want his brothers on his ship for this operation, and Calamity's accent lent credence to the claim. Would she buy a superior communications officer wearing Enclave armor rather than an officer's uniform? I had to trust Calamity's instincts and the Enclave experience on that. However, if she knew that Autumn Leaf's brother looked like, that would not only be any glimpse beneath the armor to tell her that Calamity was lying, but she would know his palette matches one of Autumn Leaf's other brothers, the one who was branded a traitor, the one that the Enclave was to kill on sight. Calamity's ruse could put the mayor in the perfect frame of mind to guess his actual identity. Superior Communications Officer? The mayor asked, immediately rendering my worries pointless. So, maybe you can tell me what the hay is going on with the raptor lenticular. She gave Calamity an exasperated look. I mean, we've got the ship's tag, right? And even if the infiltrators manage to take it out, we've got the tags for every pony in a suit of armor on board. Why don't we just find the damn raptor and blow it out of the sky? 'Cause we have raptors to spare, right? Calamity chided, as he trotted up to the mare. The ship ain't turned about to attack us yet. I reckon that means there's still hope our forces will keep control. As for tracking it down, my bits are on the infiltrators not actually having the channel for our communications. The control for the door had a cloud interface and required a code. Reggie and I teamed up to hack it, her talons and my savvy, while Calamity kept the guard mare busy. He shook his carapace helmeted head. Nope. Much more likely that they're blasting the Necronoise broadband, floating out every signal coming from the lenticular, jamming the tags. Calamity whined. Hell, that might be the whole point, and screwing up our comms is just icing on the cupcakes. The password was Fluffykins. I wasn't sure what to think of that. So, is this demon really, well, a demon? The mayor asked. I heard rumor that it's a monster released from hell by the balefire bombs. I don't believe in demons, Calamity replied. No more than I believe in goddesses. The way I see it, we don't need outside forces to blame for making the world a shittier place. We do that well enough by our own hooves. I positioned myself behind the mare and slipped off my hoof, giving Calamity a signal. Reggie entered the code while Calamity kept the guard's attention. There was the faintest whir as the lock cycled. Our Pegasus friend moved up to the mare, speaking more loudly to cover the sound. I'm sure the so-called demon ain't nothing more than a pony, he said, in a tone that suggested that he was trying to say it was more than just his opinion. It was the Enclave line, and the mayor was expected to believe it. Or some monster twisted up by the byproducts of the war. Reggie and I slid inside the brig. Before us was a corridor of cells, 2 floors high, each cell behind a glowing blue field, identical to the magical energy cages the Enclave had thrown Ditsy-Doo, Calamity, and me into less than a week ago. The sound of weeping drifted through the air. Most of the cells were empty. Most. There were ponies here, not just bucks and mares, but foals, too. Some prisoners paced in their cells, others huddled on hard metal cots. They were from the wasteland. They looked filthy compared to the stark cleanliness of the Enclave vessel. I recoiled as I found the source of the crying. A mare, cradling a foal. The colt's body limp in her hooves, having died in captivity. There were 2 guards inside, standing at a rear airlock, and they both reacted to the door. I thought I heard something, one of them said, as they moved from their positions, looking about. I shifted, moving out of the way as one passed me, his tail swishing inches from me. Part of me wanted to draw out little Macintosh and shoot him in the head, point blank. He deserves no less. But the noise would draw the whole ship down on us. I wished I had Velvet Remedy with her anesthetic spell with us, or Life Bloom, or Zenith, with her paralyzing hoof strikes. In their absence, I did the next best thing. My horn glowed, giving away my position, as I wrapped my telekinesis around their necks and squeezed until they stopped struggling. Reggie pulled back her hood and gave one of the limp guards a kick. Help me disable these energy fields. I pulled mine off too, choosing to have faith that we could trust the prisoners not to give us away. I moved to the control terminals for the cells. As Reggie and I began to work, I couldn't help but comment. If it makes any difference, I'm proud of you. You chose to help these ponies over your revenge. Regina Grimfeathers squawked a laugh. Ain't sure approval I'm aiming for, but thank you anywho. And a curious look, she sighed. Cages. Whoever my brother is now, I want his approval. And this is what he'd wanted me to do. What I think he'd do in my place. My mind flashed to the young Griffin male, buying a bent tin can from Silverbell, just to make her happy. I think you're right, I offered. I mean, I didn't know him long, but from what I did see of him, yes, he would. Reggie nodded. Revenge ain't worth anything. If dishonor hurting his memory in the process. She looked at me, a small tear in one of her eyes. He was always wanting to do stuff like this, you know. Me too, of course, she hastily added. But I wanted to be the hero. He just wanted to make something better of the Griffin's role in Equestria. She smiled bleakly. Sometimes, I think he took Stern and her lot as a personal affront, and wanted to try to balance things out. "You!" one of the prisoners called out. I rotated towards the voice, and saw Tracker. The Jade Pegasus slammed his forehooves against the energy field, ignoring the feedback. "This isn't how things are supposed to be. Get out while you still can, before they get you too." "Not without taking all of you with us," I said, with a determined smile. More ponies were getting up, moving to the edges of the magical barriers, staring at Reggie and me with mixed expressions of hope and disbelief. "Welcome to your rescue." The sound of klaxons filled the brig. I spun to Reggie, eyes wide, certain that some pony had triggered an alarm, and we were about to be overwhelmed by Enclave soldiers. Then, we felt the first dull thuds vibrating through the floor. The brig was close to the overcast's exterior. I had a terrible inkling that airlock was for easy, high-altitude disposal of prisoners, and we could feel the impacts of what had been the cathedral's anti-aircraft cannons. Reggie returned my gaze. "We're here." I had never seen such disciplined and orderly chaos as the Enclave's mobile siege platform in the heat of battle. Every Pegasus knew where to go, what to do, and they were doing it rapidly, under the barking orders of their commanders. With the military channel down, officers had taken wing, brushing the ceiling with the tips of their feathers as they shouted down to the troops, and across the ship at each other. No pony questioned the apparently lone Enclave soldier moving with purpose through the corridors and out into one of the Overcast's hangar bays, laden down with rucksacks. "Where to, Lil Pip?" Calamity asked. "You'll like this," I replied from beneath the zebra cloak. "We're going to steal one of the Enclave's sky tanks." Good. I could almost hear the grin breaking across his face. The Enclave owes us for the Sky Bandit. "There's an exterior airlock we need to pull up once we're free of the ship," Reggie added. "Got some extra passengers to take aboard." The entire ship flooded with the tense sounds of brass, drums, and violins. The heavier classic music replaced with the stirring battle anthem, Flight of the Shadowbolts. "This is it, ponies," the voice of Colonel Autumn Leaf boomed over the music. "This is the moment all of your training and all of your experience has prepared you for. This is the battle you were born for. It's time to separate the Pegasi from the Griffins. It's time to kick Red Eye's ass and teach him that crossing the Enclave, murdering our brothers and sisters, was his ultimate folly. We fight in the name of every Pegasus ignoramulously massacred in the Splendid Valley sneak attack." The monitors along the walls came to life, the Enclave emblem replaced by a slowly scrolling names in red. Every Pegasus killed by the Splendid Valley balefire bomb. I forced myself not to look, not to read each name. I knew I should. I was responsible. But if I did, I also knew I wouldn't be able to go on. We fight in the name of our loved ones, our home, and our Enclave. As we made our way across the hangar deck towards one of the black and green armored tanks, the flight of the Shadowbolts began to crescendo. The hangar door growled open, and the smoky yellow sky, explosions of black smoke, pockmarked the haze as anti-aircraft shells filled the sky. A squad of Pegasi in black carapace armor shot past the opening. embattled with a wing of dark green, shield-protected alicorns. I could hear the sounds of magical energy discharges and automatic gunfire from the world below, mixing with the nerve-wracking din. The first sky tanks and bombing chariots took off, flying out of the throat of the ship and into the heart of the war. Calamity opened the largest sky tank we could find, one with multiple plasma cannons, the kind like the one Calamity had shot Topaz with, too big for even a battle saddle, and space for a dozen armored soldiers. He pushed himself to the front, strapping himself into the flight harness, while Reggie and I took places in the back. I noted the name stenciled on the side of the sky tank, just before climbing aboard. Tortoise. A pair of Enclave soldiers came trotting up to the back of the Tortoise, their helmets in their muzzles. They had seen Calamity strapping in, and were expecting a ride. Reggie tossed back her hood, becoming visible for just a moment, grinning as I closed the door on them. "Sorry, Bucks. This one's taken." Their stunned expressions were priceless. "Go now," I told Calamity, tossing back my own hood the moment the door was shut. I looked over the door, the pony in my head panicking as I realized I had no idea how to lock it. Now is good. Go now." I didn't want to give the $2 time to recover, open the door, and shoot us down. Calamity spread his wings inside the armored enclosure of the Tortoise's cockpit, pumping twice, and I felt the tank lift from the hangar floor. A moment later, we were shooting out the hangar door, a horizontal slit of windows of the Tortoise glowing with the sickly green light of the Everfreeze dawn. Beneath us was a massive complex of metal, stone, and brown concrete, the cathedral. High in its center rose an airy Gothic structure of steppied roofs, flying buttresses, and rosy-stained glass. Ringing out around it was a heavily fortified castle, thick walls, towers, battlements. Tower strongholds held anti-aircraft guns, identical to the ones that had been protecting Friendship City. There was even a moat, and I could see the shadow of something the size of a 3 dozen ponies swimming around in it. Beyond the castle's outer wall and moat, the Everfree Forest was nothing but blackened ash and several stumps for at least a mile in every direction. A deep gouge knifed through the land on 3 sides, spanned by only a single fortress-like bridge. The scorched land was filled with ponies, not just dozens, not just hundreds. Thousands of ponies wearing Red Eye's colors were engaging the Enclave in ferocious battle. Red Eye's troops fought from trenches and pillboxes. More soldiers lined the walls of the castle, pouring bullets into the skies. Red Eye's alicorns and griffins met the Pegasi in the skies. It still seemed like a horribly lopsided battle. Bombing wagons rained high explosives down on the fortresses from high enough above to be out of range. The Raptors alone could level the cathedral with concentrated fire. Goddesses knew what the Overcast itself could do. 2 of the Raptors from the Overcast had joined 4 more, encircling the cathedral, bombarding it with heavy plasma fire. I assumed the 3rd Raptor was busy hunting Raptor Lenticular. 3 of the Raptors were showing signs of damage from the shelling. One of them was smoking badly and began to cant, drifting out of position. Calamity circled around us, deftly keeping us out of the line of heavy fire. We drew back up to the brig airlock. Tracker already had it open, waiting for us. I opened the door of the Tortoise as Calamity backed us up to the Overcast. The Thunderhead siege platform was barely moving now. Jumping from it to our sky tank would be more nerve-wracking than actually dangerous. We moved into position to help them. Regina climbed into the seat for one of the plasma cannons. The first pony, a light gray mare with a shockingly purple mane, moved to the edge of the airlock. She gulped, her knees shaking, her brow beating with the effort to not look down. "It's okay," I coaxed. "You can do it." Our attention, and the attention of every pony in the battle, was suddenly wrenched downward by a horrific, Equestria-shaking bellow. Something huge, dark, and horrifying rose up from the cathedral. A black and monstrous shape filled the smoke-filtered sun. Great, angry red eyes poured hatred down on us as it brutalized the air with massive, leathery wings. It moved towards one of the raptors, bellowing balefire. As we moved, I could make out pony-sized claws and spines as the two-tone green of its scales, marred by deep scars that looked more surgical than battle-born. I glimpsed an odd mechanical glow coming from inside of one of its wounds, which hadn't fully healed. There was a dragon in the Everfree Forest. And not just any dragon. The Luna fucking granddaddy of all dragons. An ancient dragon, so old it must have already been a huge, gigantic, terrifying, enormous, totally all-grown-up dragon back when Spike was only a baby. And it was fighting on Red Eye's side. The dragon roared again, grasping the raptor in its claws, as three of the others turned their weapons towards it. Dragon killers, Calamity had called them. Well, this was their chance to prove themselves worthy of that title. The dragon blasted the captive's raptor with choking black smoke, then howled as the other raptors lanced it with bright pastel beams of magical energy. It flicked its tail, producing massive spikes that glowed with eldritch energy, and lashed out at one of the attacking raptors, cutting deep grooves in its forward armor. My jaw hit the floor of the tortoise. Those spikes were magically enhanced. I stared at the dragon's unnatural, glowing red eyes, and knew immediately who they reminded me of. Red Eye, cybernetically enhanced, a dragon. I blinked. The little pony in my head petrified, then spun. Okay, that's it. We're going down there, right now, I called out, wrapping the escaping prisoner ponies in my magic, and floating them unceremoniously into the tortoise. Calamity, get us the fuck out of the sky. I closed the door, apologizing to the prisoners as I pulled myself into another of the plasma cannon chairs. The chair and controls were made for a larger pony, and I had about as much skill with magical energy weapons as I did with sword fighting. But as long as I didn't manage to shoot the damn tank we were flying in, I figured I could help a little. Reggie was already firing, taking shots at other sky tanks, and the Enclave bombarding chariots. The high-pitched yelp of her plasma cannon was making my ears hurt. "Oh yeah!" Reggie shouted, as explosions as one of her shots turned an Enclave bombing wagon into a cascading explosion of rainbow pyrotechnics. She was already swinging towards her next target before the fireworks had subsided. I love me this turtle. Tortoise, I corrected, as I linked my pip leg into the turret, downloading the sky tank's tag and maximizing the value of my targeting spell. Whatever, she said, in a dismissive wave of her wing. Hey Calamity, can we keep it? Her next three shots took out two armored Enclave Pegasi, freeing up a very surprised-looking alicorn. Some of Red Eye's troops along the cathedral wall opened fire on the tortoise as Calamity brought us close. I gasped in dismay as two of the escapees crumbled, dead, crimson flowers bursting across their bodies. Several of the others' escapees screamed. The more level-headed pony stepped in, trying to prevent panic. Tracker belted out commands, ordering everyone to lay flat on the floor and make themselves as small a target as possible. I floated open one of the rucksacks filled with magical supplies and looked around the interior of the tank. The bullets hadn't penetrated the tank's armor so much as ignored it completely. There weren't even bullet holes. Red Eye's troops were using bullets enhanced with an armor bypass. I turned my plasma cannon to the troops along the wall. trying to clear a path for us to land without losing any more ponies. Suddenly, that and the dragon. This battle was looking a lot less lopsided. The dragon roared overhead. The noise of the battle outside barely disturbed the almost pestic atmosphere of the cathedral's central building. The buildings surrounding it had proven to be barracks and military training grounds, now emptied as this half of Red Eye's army engaged the Enclave invaders. The other half, the larger half, as I learned from a few hacked terminals, were amassing in Philadelphia. In just a few days, the Philadelphia ruins were going to become the site of the biggest battle in Equestria since, and probably before, the Pony Zero War. Thousands of innocents were going to die in the crossfire, or be exterminated by the Enclave, if I didn't manage to stop it. We had left the escapees in one of those barracks, instructing them to barricade themselves inside until we returned. I couldn't help but think we had taken them from one proverbial frying pan into the equally proverbial fire, but there wasn't any place in Everfree that was truly safe, except maybe Zakora's hut, and I was sorely tempted to have Calamity fly them there while I pressed ahead, but my gut told me we didn't have time for anything else. Once I freed the unicorns Red Eye intended to sacrifice in his damned ascension, we would need to leave very swiftly. I was already planning on levitating a lot of them in tow, while Calamity flew the tortoise as fast as he could go. With any luck, it would be the speediest flying tortoise in history. The trio of us snuck through the cathedral. Calamity had left the Enclave armor in the tortoise, and was back under Zebra's stealth cloak. This time, it was Reggie who walked around visible. There were enough Talon Griffins in Red Eye's forces that no pony gave her a second look. Okay, this is kind of creeping me out, she admitted, as she strode by a squad of Red Eye soldiers, who were running to garrison part of the building. One of them stopped to smile and waved to her as they passed. We passed under an archway. Carved into stone was the message, "Equality is harmony." Robed ponies strode by us casually, humming a low tune, and paying Regina no mind at all. We saw two more up ahead, admiring one of the many pinkish stained glass windows. A third walked up to join them, my ears catching the phrase, "Walk in the blessings of unity." The other robed ponies parroted the hail. "That's Discord," the new arrival told the other two. "The spirit of disharmony." Her voice carried the authoritative tones of a professional know-it-all. Red Eye was so impressed on his visit to Canterlot that he imported all the windows used in the cathedral from the old royal palace. I stared at the window, ignoring the monster depicted and instead focusing on the pinkish tones of the glass itself. A surge of dread hit me as I realized that all the windows in the cathedral were suffused with pink cloud. My little pony conjured up imaginations of the windows slowly leaking minute amounts of necromantic poison into the building. "Never heard of him," one of the road ponies asked. "What happened to him?" "No pony knows," the pony teased, then straightened up. "No, really. Princess Celestia and Luna defeated him and turned him into a statue. He was still in Canterlot when the apocalypse happened. Some say the attack on Canterlot woke him up, only for the pink cloud to prove as lethal to spirits as it was to the princesses. Some say that he has been a statue all this time, in which case he was probably destroyed when the enemy obliterated the Canterlot ruins. And some say," the third blurted out, "that Discord was released by the war, and that he was so weakened that he's now just an itty-bitty spirit running around the Equestrian wasteland, putting ammo and bottle caps into random containers." She grinned, then paused, tapping her muzzle. Or was that the ghost of Pinkie Pie? The other two ponies stared back at her blankly for a moment, then burst into giggles. Icicle, you're so random. Up ahead was another huge archway with wide-open stained glass windows. Another Mott, from Red-Eye engraved into the stonework, inlaid with bronze. Remember, you are not here because you are better than those who are not, but because you are better than who you were. Beyond the main theater of the cathedral, a voluminous room of pillars, high arches, and towering windows, of dazzling stained glass. The room was filled with robed ponies sitting in pews, their attentions on a mare standing at a pulpit. Do not be alarmed, my fellow disciples of the new unity, she was saying. Let not your hearts feel dismay as we hear the roars and rumbles of the violence that surrounds us like a storm. Instead, rejoice. We have come to this place through fire and darkness, but today is the day we have all been waiting for. Today is the day of Red-Eye's ascension and the birth of the new unity. I felt like I'd been hit by lightning. Today? Red-Eye's going to become a god today. Now. In the middle of all this. Remember, disciples, as you hear the screams and the thunder of weapons outside these halls, that Red-Eye has told us from the very beginning that this day would be born just as we all were, covered in blood. That, she pointed towards one of the towering windows as the dark, passing shape of a dragon turned the majestic stained glass into shadowed grays, is not to be feared, but to be loved. That is a sign of our salvation. The dragon came to Red-Eye, weak, blind, dying of old age. And Red-Eye gave him new life. And like the dragon, soon, we will all be reborn. Reggie pulled out a cigarette and lit it. We are so fucked. I turned, knowing that there was a stairwell near here. We needed to go down. This way, I said, as I spotted a familiar-looking tapestry. I led them into a side hall that connected the chapel to the cathedral's school and nursery wing. Through open doors on either side of us, we could see the workrooms where the disciples of New Unity were creating school books and educational materials for the new schools that Red-Eye intended to establish across all of Equestria. The rooms reminded me severely of the Ministry of Image. The doors of the school wing opened. Several robed ponies herding a gaggle of colts and fillies, most of whom sounded more excited than frightened. Several of the children, I saw with sick alarm, were wearing alicorn costumes. But we want to see the battle, one little colt protested. We want to see the good guys win. We already know Red-Eye will win, the adult intoned. It has been ordained. Now move along. Red-Eye wants you all safe in the shelter. Another of the adult ponies was opening a side door leading to descending stone steps. That was the door we wanted. That should take us down to cyber surgery? No. That was sublevel 2, I thought. What was sublevel 1? The colt whined. We know it's ordained, but we want to see it. Down that way, I told Reggie, as soon as the children passed through. The adolescent griffin turned to gaze towards the emptiness of my invisible direction. How is it that you know where we're supposed to go? She asked, raising an eyebrow. Have you been here before? Seen a map? Sort of, I admitted. I'm working off fragmented memories I caught during my Alicorn's telepathic skullfuck. Oh, the nostalgia I had for those innocent days of Stable 2, when I didn't even know what skullfuck meant. Much less had a reason to apply the term to an experience of my own. Well, I'm glad something good came of it. Not a pun I needed. But at least Reggie had the good grace to wince. The music in my earbloom erupted into a painful burst of static. I nearly tore it from my ear. I was immediately thankful I did not, as the next sound I heard was possibly the most wonderful sound in the equestrian wasteland. Good morning, children. DJ Pone 3, how much was okay? Or, at least, she was okay when this was recorded. Knowing her, the broadcast was rigged to occur hours after she left. As Watcher had said, she wasn't making it easy for the Enclave. I interrupt the Enclave's depressing-ass music for a special broadcast. Today, I have with me 2 members of the Wasteland Resistance, none other than the Enclave fighting duo of Lion and Mouse, and I will be speaking with them about the good fight, the blows they have struck to the Enclave, and what every pony can do to lend a helping hoof. But first, the weather. I drank in her voice, disguised as it was. It was still her. I could hear my homage, feel her presence, behind every single word. My heart stirred, taking strength, yet splitting with sorrow. Never again. I'd never see, feel, or smell my homage again. O goddesses, I pleaded under my breath, my body beginning to shake. Please, don't let that be true. I'd do anything, give anything. Please, just give me this one thing. DJ Pone 3's voice, a miracle in the fire and the darkness, continued to break through. Completely cloudy, with a chance of big, black thunderheads over the Everfree Forest in the valley between Manhattan and Philadelphia. I predict one of those 2 cities is in for some real nasty weather very, very soon. So if you're in the bzzik, the signal went dead. No DJ Pone 3. No music. Nothing. The Enclave had shut the broadcast down completely. My heart stopped. I stood frozen, paralyzed, until the cathedral shook under a mighty, rending rumble. The crippled raptor had finally lost any semblance of control, and was crashing into one of the battlements outside, gouging out an avalanche of slundering stone. The raptor's storm clouds dissipating in a hurricane blast that shattered the nearby windows into razor-sharp shards and fine pink dust. I instinctively lashed out with my telekinesis, pushing back the debris, keeping it away from us and the children, terrified at the consequences of breathing powdered pink glass. The children screamed, and no longer needed coaxing to go down the stairs. We swiftly followed. The first sublevel, beneath the chapel, was dedicated to bypass spells and weaponry. The archway we had just passed beneath read, "Productivity is the right of every pony." Here, Red Eye's disciples had enchanted almost 1,000 firearms for his army. Like the barracks, these rooms were now empty, save for the occasional guard or passerby, none of whom gave Reggie more than a second look. Just because a pony is born with wings or a horn does not make them inferior. Red Eye's voice played in my earbloom, part of an audio log stamped with the logo of Stable 101. I had spotted it from amongst a stack of books on a shelf just inside the archway. The audio log was apparently part of a recording discussion between Red Eye and the overmare of Stable 101, a remnant of his past that someone from the stable had deemed to save. The debate was taking place over dinner at what sounded like a crowded table. The munching of food and the clicking of plates and glass created a constant background din, and occasionally the voices of others at the table murmured into my ear, making it hard to pick out what Red Eye or the overmare was saying. The first Griffin Chaser was designed and built by an Earth pony in a matter of minutes, the Overmare considered, silkily. The entire town of Appaloosa was created by Earth ponies in less than a year. Do you honestly think unicorns or pegasi could have taken us from muskets to machine guns in just a few decades? As we walked, I looked around, trying to shake loose memories of where to go next. Unfortunately, few, if any, alicorns had been on this level during their assault on my mind. Unicorns and pegasi have their own special talents, which they bring to the table. This younger-sounding Red-Eye countered. For example, without unicorns, we wouldn't have healing potions. Without pegasi, Equestria would have been ravaged by wild weather. Each race of pony kind adds to the whole, no one greater or more important than the others. It is a vital gestalt, requiring all three. It is wrong for Earth ponies to set themselves up above the others. Above us, the cathedral was rocked by a succession of heavy explosions. The stone ceiling tiles crackled, raining dust down. Reggie looked up, guessing. One of the bombing wagons. Much more of that, and they might punch through. Magic, the Overmare chuckled. Let me tell you a little about pony magic. As it so happens, there was a particular magical earth pony in my ancestry. His name was Joe, and he worked in Canterlot as a craftsman, making coffee cups. Though he was no unicorn and knew no spells, the coffee cups he created would always be clean, they would never stain, and it took tremendous force to make them chip or crack. Why? Because making these cups was a labor of love, and that natural earth pony magic infused each of his creations. We reached a locked door. No cloud controls this time. Just a good, old-fashioned tumbler lock. Seeing it made me absurdly happy. I telekinetically picked it before I realized I intended to. I opened the door, hoping for a stairway down. Instead, I found a storeroom, full of assault carbines, shotguns, ammo, and more. Calamity looked like he had died and gone to heaven. I sighed. Take what you can grab, quickly. Calamity became a flying rust and orange blur. And that won't slow us down. Calamity stopped in front of me, every single damn weapon slung about his body, and then an assault carbine in his mouth. I heard an impressed, "Wow," from Reggie. Want one? He asked innocently. I went ahead and took the slightly drooled-on assault carbine and several magazines of ammo. It would be good to have a backup for little Macintosh. First, the magic of Pegasi and unicorns are flashy shortcuts of hard work. And without hard work, where's the drive for innovation? When a Pegasus or a unicorn, have they ever needed to be creative? Second, the magic of Pegasi and unicorns are selfish. The shortcuts they provide, the labor they save, is only for themselves. Whereas the innovations of Earth ponies can be shared by all ponies, and be built upon the future Earth ponies. Finally, the magic of Pegasi and unicorn ponies is demanding. I'd even say crippling. Where Earth ponies can throw themselves directly into their work, the Pegasi of the past needed flight camps. The unicorns needed magical schooling just to be able to use the magic they had been born with. The time that could be spent learning other skills were spent instead mastering their magic. Not so with Earth ponies. Our magic is inherent, and innately applied to the work we do. While the unicorn's magic is spellcasting, and the Pegasi's magic is impossible flight and prancing on clouds, our magic is to be superior at what we can do. Earth ponies are inherently superior because that is our gift. Hey, Reggie called out, standing at another door. I think I found a way down. Shortcuts, Red-Eye offered smoothly. are sometimes useful. Critical, even. Sure, the Earth Pony way builds things to last, but it is a slow process. And sometimes, you need a quick fix. Take, for example, poison. An Earth Pony may be able to test your blood, identify the poison, and brew up an antidote. But all of that can take hours, which you do not have. Isn't it better to have a unicorn on hoof, who can cast a spell purging any poison away? Red-Eye. The Overmare sighed dourly. I am not impressed with this newfound insight you claim from your scouting missions. I speak in sweeping truths, that you argue isolated examples, exemptions which are not sufficient to disprove the rule. Now The Overmare fell silent. There was a pregnant pause before the voice of Red-Eye asked casually, Overmare, you were saying? Then he added, even more casually, Is something wrong? Why haven't... Yes, he prompted. I'm afraid I don't follow. The sounds around the dinner table died away. I imagined everypony was staring at Red-Eye and the Overmare. I suspected the latter had suddenly gone alarmingly pale. Very softly, the Overmare muttered, I just noticed that you haven't so much as tasted your drink